Hey everyone, welcome to Kingdom Builder TV. I'm your host, Kelly Meade, and today I'm joined by Leanna Crawford to talk about her brand new album, Still Waters, available everywhere now. Leanna, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to see you again and have you back on Kingdom Builder because I had you on our audio show when How Can You Not was released to streaming a couple years ago. So it's great to have you on our video show now.
Well, thanks for having me back.
So, as I mentioned in the opening, Still Waters is out today. I know a lot of listeners have been anxious for the full album from you after so many singles have come out, like How Can You Not and Before I Knew Jesus and Make It Through, which is one of my favorites. And also the title track, Still Waters. And each of these has been really cool to see how they've kind of taken on a life of their own through social media as you've been sharing them.
I think it's really wild. I'm very grateful. First of all, I write these songs like I love being a songwriter. I love getting to write. I'm really writing my own kind of journey and story and what I feel like God is teaching me, and it's like wild to see when people connect with those songs, like when anybody does, like it's so cool. But then to be able to see it, it's special to see it at shows. It's really special too to see it on social media because I'm on there a lot, so it's like it's wild to see people connect to the song and use it for their own story. And I think that's where, like, that's a beautiful thing about music is when I'm writing what I'm going through, and then someone else feels like it's like that song is their story, right? Like that's like the crazy thing, because I feel like that happens to me all the time. Someone will share a song and I'm like, wait, that feels like exactly what I'm going through. So I think it's wild to see that. It's been very, very special.
Thinking about the Still Waters album as a whole, can you share a little about what went into bringing these songs to life and how the album came together?
Yeah, and it's kind of a little bit in pieces. And like you said, like I've had these singles coming out over the last 2 years. And so my goal the whole time was to put out an album. I don't know that the label knew that, but I was like, this is my plan. So when I told them that, I was very thankful that they were like down to do it. And I'm very grateful to have an awesome team behind me. But really, I feel like I've been putting out singles for a while. I put an EP out in 2020, and then before that, like in 2018, I think it was. So I'd never done a full on project, a full on like album record. And so this has been my dream. I feel like it's been in the works for a long time, but especially the last 2 years. And these songs have really come out of just like I've grown a lot in the last few years, especially. I feel like it's been a very it's been a lot of like learning, a lot of growing, and I'm very grateful for it. And there was a season where I was like, God, I don't know if I should still be doing this. And I felt him just like speak through different people in my life that just said, keep going. And I feel like my perspective now, I'm trying to, not always like this, but just trying to be so grateful and just like, wow, I'm really grateful I get to do this for however long that you allow me to do it, God. And so that's kind of been the journey of like all of these songs, is just like approaching it with trying to be gratitude. But also, it's a lot of the songs are very personal. I mean, really, they're very personal to me. It's really like my story, and just like all the things that I've been going through the last couple of years. And so it's very much like, I mean, here it is, my little heart on a little record, and there it is. But it's really special to have it out.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine it's just like it means a lot to you. And I know that each of these songs are kind of like your kids in a way. So having co-wrote each of these songs, is there one that maybe stands out from the co-write session or maybe just carries a little extra meaning to you?
Oh man, it's really hard to pick. I feel like it changes every day. The one that I've had the longest, so most all of these songs have been written in the last, like 2 or 3 years, like last few years. So it's been like most of the songs are from this. There's one song, it's the very last song on the record, called Rest. And I wrote that. I'm trying to even think of the year I wrote it. It was like when I moved to Nashville, like 2017, 2018. I think I wrote it in like 2019. So I've had it for a long time. And my mom kept being like, you need to put it out, you need to put it out, you need to put it out. So I was like, Mom, I'm putting it on the record, like it's gonna be out. And I really wanted to be like the final song on the like, I was very intentional about like the order, and it was really fun to like, instead of just putting out, one song, it was like, no, I get to kind of pick an order. So whoever listens to it in order, there was like intentionality behind it. But like from the first song kind of through the last, I was like very intentional about like, hey, I want this to be kind of the final, and the bridge of rest is come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. But that song, I think it kind of changes, I feel like, every day, but I think that right now is like, it's a very special one.
Yeah, and I love hearing artists share how like the track order and everything when you do put a lot of thought into it as opposed to just people who are because I know with the way that music is consumed nowadays, it is kind of like track by, single by single and it's just kind of a shuffle on your playlist, but I love when you can listen to an album and you can hear a little bit more of a story or a little bit more of a, the heart of the artist behind it too. So I do feel that while I'm listening to this album.
Aw.
And so you're talking about rest. That happens to be one that I really like it really kind of hit me a little bit extra too. And I felt like that was one I could have written. And another one is honest.
Mm,
That one is like it reminds me that I'm not alone in like the wondering and the waiting time.
yeah.
And even though we know that God's plan and his timing is perfect, it can still be difficult sometimes to wait. And it's okay to be honest with him in that way.
Thank you. No, that one is like, that one's very that's, I mean, they're all like special to me because they're all my songs. So that one's like very special in that I had written like verse one, and it was literally like, I was just like sitting, I think I was just sitting at my piano, and it honestly felt like it was just like, I was just like praying, and that's just kind of like what came out. And in that, it's just like very worshipful. It just feels like one of my journal entries. But I remember I had verse one, and that was like all I had. I didn't have the title, I didn't have anything, and I just like brought it to the co-write. And that's like, we wrote honest, and it was just kind of, and I never know, like I'm like, I don't know, I was like, this is what I have, we don't know if this is a song or not. And that's like, but it really, I'm so grateful for it, because I feel like my co-writers just really like, we kind of like I mean, I love that song, and it's been very special since we wrote it. And it really is like, it's like you see David in the Psalms all the time crying out to God, and he's like bringing his, anxiety and his depression and all of his feelings, and he's like, God, like, here I am, I'm also going to praise you at the same time, like I'm going to acknowledge that you are king, that you are God, but I'm also like going through all of these things. And I'm like, and I think that's where this song is like kind of that for me. It's like, I'm gonna still like praise you, but like I do, like I need to know that I can still trust you, because right now I don't see the, like, I don't see the full picture. Obviously, we might not ever know why we have to go through something. Like we might not know until we get to heaven, which is like crazy too, and there's a lot of trust in that. But he has been faithful, and he is good. We just might not always like understand how he's working, and maybe not this side of heaven, which is wild too. But that's really, that song is definitely a special one, so thank you.
Yeah, listening to this album, it does feel really reflective and like it gives you the opportunity to think about everything that God has done in your life. So I'm wondering, is there a verse or maybe a song that God has been using in your life recently?
Hmm. um Over the course of this record, which I kind of, I love, and this is so bad because I tried to memorize it and I got like half of it, so I need to finish. But that's just like, we're totally honest right now. Psalm 91 has just been like an incredibly like significant passage for me over the last few years. And honestly, it's kind of been like a parallel with like just different things that I've been going through. And then while writing this record, that has been an anchor for me. And I love that psalm. And so that is like, for those watching and listening today, I would definitely encourage you to go read it. I could share here. I'm gonna share because I don't want to mess it up, but I'll just share the first couple verses because it's so good. Even just like the first two verses I just love. But Psalm 91, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. And just like the whole passage is so beautiful, and just like resting and knowing that like we can like trust in his goodness, and he is our fortress. He's our refuge. And so I love that passage. Definitely been an anchor for me over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I feel like that can almost be an overarching theme to a lot of these songs too,
Mm,
on the record. So that's very, very cool.
thank you.
So as Still Waters and these songs reach a wider audience, what is something you hope listeners will take away from them after they hear them?
I think kind of like we've talked about a little bit in the beginning. I pray that that whoever hears it will see their own story, and like in these songs, in my stories, like I hope they see their own story in that and feel seen, like you said, feel maybe not so alone in like your journey. I think the enemy wants to tell us that we're alone in our struggle, that we are the only one that that doubts, that is afraid, that feels insecure, that all these different things, that feels not good enough. And it's like, no, we all feel those things. We just don't talk about it necessarily. But I think when we bring those things to light, that's when he can start to use that for his glory, for his kingdom. And so it's like I pray that whoever hears it feels maybe not so alone, that they feel like a sense of belonging, and knowing who they are and whose they are, and that they leave listening to any one of the songs feeling a little bit hopeful. I pray that like there's like a lot of real stuff, but I am so grateful for the hope that we have in Jesus, and for like there's nothing else like it that I've found. Like I'm just like, that is he is it. And so I that's like my big prayer, is that you know you once when you listen to it, you feel a sense of hope, and just knowing who God is, reminded who he is. If you never heard about him, like knowing him maybe a little more, maybe encouraged to read scripture. But yeah, I just pray the listeners feel a little hope. I think we could all use that.
Yes, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of encouragement on this record. And like we can go back to a little bit talking about social media, because you just were mentioning how like people who may not know God, and when they hear these songs, and I feel like that's been a really cool way where people might just, randomly come across it, but it's really not that random when you think about it.
Yeah, no, that's been wild too, because I even with Make It Through, I've seen different people use my song, and I don't know that they know Jesus, and it's been really cool because I'm like, they're hearing, the hope of Jesus in that song, and they don't even know it. I'm like, that's really cool. And it wasn't even intentional to be like, it wasn't, it's just like that's been a special one. That's a song that is totally and completely about Jesus being beside us, but it's also a beautiful song about like community, like, hey, we're in this together, we're going to make it through. And so like people don't necessarily know they're hearing that, or like even when they like use the song, but it's been really really special to see that. And wild, you're right, because it's not random. It's like God is using that. He's used, even though social media is wild, I feel like it can still be used for good. It's just like it's a wild time.
Oh, yes.
Wild time, but I think it can be used for good too.
Absolutely. And it makes me really thankful for like artists like you. And I know it can take a lot sometimes to, get your stuff out there and have it reach people, but it's so just very neat to see when it does, and when it's a song that does carry extra meaning, like a lot of these do.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know you've had the opportunity to work with some of your fellow artists, whether it's been in co-writes or on tour, but who is someone that you have not yet collaborated with that you would love to?
There's a lot. I feel like there's so many great people. I would love to collaborate with Lauren Daigle. I think that'd be so fun. She's just like queen, and I feel like I've not like ever met her, but I feel like we follow each other on social media, and that's about it. I'm like, she's so sweet. Everybody says she's the kindest, and I love her voice, but I would love to collaborate with her. I mean,
That would
yeah.
be
So
very
I'm
cool.
I'm counting on you to make that happen now that we've had this conversation.
Would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
So with the album release, and I know you've got a lot of festival dates coming up this summer, is there anything else coming up you're excited about that you can share the rest of the year?
Oh, I'm so excited about this album, getting to share it live. There'll be, more shows happening. I'm so excited about that. It's been really sweet with this record because every pre-order that we've done, like physical pre-order, 100% of the net proceeds are going to Charity Water. Which is just like I've been a fan of them for a long time, but if your listeners haven't heard of them, but they help get people clean water all over the world. So they've already helped millions of people, but there's still like millions of people that don't have clean water, which is just like wild to me. So with the record being Still Waters, it felt like it was a really sweet way to like partner and give back. So that's been really special. But that's kind of like leading up to the album, and album release and all of that. And even now you can still pre-order it and 100% of the net proceeds will go to them. But that's been like a very, very special piece of this whole release.
That's so cool. I love that. So I want to encourage everyone to visit leannacrawford.com and follow her on all the social media platforms, which I'll be sure to link in the description below this video. Also check out Still Waters on Apple Music, Spotify, and everywhere else you listen to music. Leanna, this was such a fun conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so good to see you.